Okay, just to catch you up here, we're working on class point as given in the homework part 3. And there's my class point. The override, just a good check. Now, the test, remember what the test is? All I did in my test here is say I've got a new point. Let's print it out. And notice I made it part of the project I'm in. I don't have to make a whole other program. Just add more lines and see how the comments here show I'm testing that part of it.
I think if you hover over the P1, the variable, down the next line. Yeah. If you hover over it, it will tell you it's
Oh yeah, there you go. It's casting it to a string. All right, so now to run it, I could put .toString if I really wanted to be clear. So it doesn't hurt to do that. Now to run it, let's see. I've got some red going on down there. That's just because it's catching. I don't know why it's caring about code and comments. That's kind of annoying. Let me save this. There we go. Save it, and the errors go away. All right, now let's run it, and all I'm going to get is some simple output verifying that I have a point. Points are so simple, I don't really need to do much more than that. There's my test code. Okay? And program ended. There's my point class. Now comments in here wouldn't hurt. It's a fairly simple class. But notice what I did here. I'm not doing getting and setting X and Y. It just seems this is such a simple class. Let me just make my member public, because I'm just setting the value of X and Y. And when I want to read it, I can just access p1.x. I don't have to do p1.getX. It seems like a waste of code if it's such a simple object. As I get more complex objects, that's where I decide, that it makes sense to have getters and setters because it's lots of variables inside my object. Okay, so that's it for the point. Now we want to do the circle. Now they've told us we have to derive the circle from the class point. That's been told to us, although that's probably not the way I would design it. Okay, so let's just make the class circle now. So I just start new class while I'm in my package, and I'm going to give it the name circle. And the only thing I add to that is extends point. It's a subclass of points. So I don't have to worry about X and Y. A circle has an X and Y already because it is a extension of point. But it does have a new thing in it. It has a double radius. You can use R, radius, your choice on the use of that variable. And now we have a constructor. Without any parameters. We'll start with the basic no parameter. It's already a point, so we simply say radius equals 0. Default circle, no, not a radius of 0. That would be silly. Let's make it a default radius of 1. Now, a constructor that takes parameters, well, what does it want for a typical circle? Your location and radius. So let's give it a double X, double Y, double radius, or R, whatever you want to do. I'm going to use short variables. I just like using short variables and parameters and larger variables, longer variables in the actual object. Now, since I do not have a point that takes 3 parameters, this is not an override. And since I don't have a point function, this is not an override of the default constructor. Now, toString will be an override. So I have to say X equals little x. I'm setting my X and Y. This could all be on one line, but I'm going to. And radius equals R. The radius you've sent me. There's my constructor with parameters. Now we're going to override the toString. And toString is expecting no parameters. Oh, and it has to return a string. I forgot to say string. Now, I return. Okay, this time it's a circle. So what should I return? How about circle colon plus, let's see, I want my point. Well, the point already has that toString in it, so I'm going to call super.toString. And then I'm going to add to that, I'll put on next line just to make it a little more readable. I'm going to add to that plus radius, oh, better put a space there, radius of, come on, radius plus radius. And I'll put as radius colon. So that should give me a string representation of my circle. Well, this is my variable radius. This is my member radius. So I don't want quotes around that because I want the actual value of my radius method. No, not in this case. I'm not sure why. Yeah, it's. I would have expected this to turn to red. Maybe it's because I'm on a separate line that it doesn't do the coloring right. Oh, no, I do have the plus. No, I think that's all good. Yeah, so the coloring, I think, not sure why. Yeah, you think that would have turned to, well, I guess up there it's blue. Okay, so that's the toString. Now there's one more function. Since it is a 2D object, I want a public double get area. So I am finally getting a getter of calculating my area.
This is still in the.
This is circle now. This is our circle class. That is derived from point. And I've got it on the recording now too. So circle extends point. So I started a new class, extends point. And the only thing I'm adding is a public. Oh, I'm going to be very clear that this is public. I'm going to make it public double radius. I want to be able to read and write my radius directly. And I'm adding the get area. And it's a simple return. Yep, radius times radius times pi. Math dot pi. It is a constant, not a method. And so I don't need to put parentheses. Math dot pi gives me pi. Now I could decide I want to show the area in my toString, but I think I'm happy just to show when I just want to see what the circle is, I just give a point and its radius. So there's my functions. This is not an override. This is a new function for my circle. And now let's go to my testing program. And to test it, all I'm going to do is define a circle. I'm calling it C1, and just print out what that circle is, giving it some random point and radius.
One is our x, two is our y, four is our radius.
Yeah. And if I want, I could make a default circle just to see that it shows up. So I'll make another circle. Circle C2 equals new circle without any parameters. And I'll say circle 1. And then do that again. Circle 2. This is in the main. This is back in main. That's my testing program. I'm treating main as the testing program for all of this. Rather than, I'm not going to write a separate program for just testing a circle and a point. Just add it to it with little comments in between. making it clear this is testing the circle bar. So I define or declare a variable circle, giving a slightly different way of instantiating it. And this is just simply verifying in the print line. Yeah, right. That's the only difference. So the second one I should get 0, 0 with a radius of 1. And let's see how it comes out. There's my first point that I made from before. Here's my circle 1. Here's this 2-string part of circle 1. At 1, 2 with a radius of 4. At 0 with a radius of 1, the defaults. So creating and deriving classes from a superclass. Now let's jump to the cylinder. I think you're going to see this with a little practice here. Yeah. No, we're not. Don't worry about graphing it. We're getting to graphic in a couple chapters. No, the showing a point is just simply printing out what is point. That's showing it. Yeah, that's not something we have to do yet. Printing the coordinates to test various operations on a point. There's not much to do for operations on a point. So the operations for now are you give it a value. As we do graphics, we'll start using points and polygons and things. But a point by itself it's invisible, right? So yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, cylinders. Here we go. Jump to the cylinders. We're going to get through this one really fast. So I'm adding a new class cylinder. And what's new about a cylinder? I can look at my UML diagram. The only new thing it has is a height. So double height. Oh yes, we do extend. We extend it from circle. Public double height. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Yes, a cylinder extends circle. I can extend subclasses. So you can have chains of classes and subclasses. And the only thing new about a cylinder is it has a height. So all the other items that it has in there, 2-string, X, Y, and R, and now we just add height to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and now make our constructor public cylinder with no parameters, the default empty parameter constructor, and we'll just simply say for a default cylinder, let's give it a height of unity as well. Unit height of 1. I don't need to call super, that's implied. I will have a radius of 1 by default as well, because it extends the circle. Now if I want to actually give it explicit point, radius, and height, yeah. Yeah. And I forgot to get my curly brace started. And so the only thing here is, the same thing. Since I'm deriving from a point, I can say x equals x. I'm going to do this all in one line just so I can see it all. Y equals y. Radius equals r. And height equals h. Since I have semicolons, unlike other languages, I can put all these on one line. Yep. Now I'm going to override my get area. I'm going to use my override keyword just to make sure I do it right. Override with a capital O. Public double, get area. Now this is surface area. So what's the surface area of a cylinder? Well, It's 2 times the area of my circle. So 2 times super dot get area plus, oh, I forgot something on my, I forgot to get circumference on my circle. Plus height times get circumference, which I forgot to write, so I better put that in there to my circle. That's my surface area. So I forgot. I'm going to go back now and write the get circumference of my circle. I just realized that was supposed to be in there. That goes in the circle. So in the circle, I'll put that before area because it's a lower dimension than area. So public double get circumference return, what would that be? 2 times radius times 5. There we go. Now I've got my get circumference in there. Forgot about that one. Now the surface area is 2 times the height, or 2 times the area of the circle. And notice I do super area plus the height times my circumference. I will let you write the public double get volume. I think you can handle that, but it will look like that because we are out of time. I don't think that should be a huge thing. You're going to be returning a calculation of area times height, right? Top. Super dot area times height. Yeah. Super dot get area. Well, since that's so easy, let's just do it. Double return super dot get area times height. How easy was that? All right, and this is recorded, so you can go back to the recording. I will upload that